Okay, let's see. Here we go. All right. So this is the book of Ecclesiastes, right? Have you read the book?
I have, but not recently.
Oh, okay. So you are way ahead of most people. It's really nice to know that's, you know, there are, anyway, thank you for having read it. But what I'm going to do is not just give my analysis, but I'm going to give you've heard of the Bible Project, the Bible Project?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. So they're wonderful. They really have their pulse on the Bible, and the original meaning. So I'm going to play a little bit of that as well, their analysis of the book of Ecclesiastes. But let me get started with my analysis here. So Ecclesiastes means, it's a Greek word which means an assembly, and that's what Kohelet means in Hebrew, an assembly of. But in this case, Kohelet is referring to the son of David. Okay, and I was starting to write this out here. The son of David, who's Solomon, right? King Solomon. All right. So we have here, let me just go ahead and get started. The word haval is used multiple times. Well, here it's pronounced havel, here it's haval. But this word is exactly the same word as Abel, as in Cain and Abel. It's exactly the same word. And it's translated in many different ways. Emptiness or vanity. In the Bible Project, it's translated as smoke. So smoke, as you know, is formed initially, but then it diffuses into all over the place, and goes into emptiness. So I understand why they translate it as smoke, but it's even more interesting than that. So I just want to point out the hey means the, bait is in, and lamed is to. Something is into, it has collapsed into itself. That's what Hevel means, the name for Abel, and that's what Haval also means. It's collapsing into, and ultimately in the universe, it is the concept of entropy. So you know what entropy is. When God first creates, he creates everything in the beginning with the Big Bang. He creates the stars and then has a lot of heat and all the processes that go on with God's initial creation, which includes the earth, and then God adds life. That is complexity upon complexity. Entropy is the exact opposite. And in a universal sense, the cosmologists have determined that everything collapses into entropy, which is, it goes from complexity to simplicity and then ultimate simplicity. We have thermal entropy, which means it goes from heat to absolute zero, right? To absolutely no heat. That's entropy. It collapses into itself. So that's a pure material world. That doesn't include everything else that God continues to create, which is life, evolution, the evolution of life, real evolution, not Darwinian evolution, God's real evolution. So when you have God's real evolution, you have a process where things are getting much more complex. Okay, and I'm hoping this is going to show up here, but okay, let me just make sure the view is. See, hopefully I can make sure I am on this. Choose background. Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm on the board here, and this is showing up.
I can see the whole board.
You can see the whole board. Okay, cool.
It's cutting off the top of your head from your
Oh,
glasses.
yeah.
But
Okay,
I can see everything that you're writing.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this, knowing that Hevel means entropy, the entropy. or vanity or emptiness. Okay, divrei is words of Kohelet. Ben is son, and David is David. Okay, so David, the word actually means uncle in Hebrew. And David was the youngest of 12 or 13 boys. And so he had a bunch of, nephews and nieces. And so he was known as David, uncle. That's what the word means. Melech, king. B, Rushalam. So B is in and Jerusalem. Okay, so he's the son of David. Now, David had many sons, obviously. So the theory is that Kohelet is Solomon, but there's a lot of contention. So we'll see. I do believe it's Solomon because God asked Solomon what he wants. Does he want riches? Does he want fame? Does he want fortune? Whatever. Solomon asked for wisdom. And this book sounds a lot like, the book of Ecclesiastes sounds a lot like Proverbs, which is the book of wisdom, also by Solomon. Okay, here we go. Havel. So this is, I'm going to call it the emptiness, because to me, that's always what it sounds like, but, or the emptiness or the entropy. Okay, but in the translation that you're going to get with the Bible Project, they call it smoke, or it's called vanity. Okay, that's fine. Ha-valim, the emptinesses, or the entropies. Amar, okay, so Amar is the verb, so he spoke, or he conveyed, sorry, it's conveyed. He conveyed. Kohelet. Okay, or Solomon. Okay, he keeps on repeating. Havel. Okay, the emptiness. Havalim. Okay, the emptinesses or entropies. I'll keep going back and forth here. The entropies. Hakol, the all. Havel. Okay, emptiness. Okay. Very negative, very pessimistic. Ma is what? Yitron. Okay. Yitron, yeter is a remnant. And this is kind of a verbal noun. So I'm going to just put it remaining of. Okay, what is remaining of? La Adam, to Adam. So that's us in our physical bodies. Okay, this is our physical body, material body in this material world. Bechol, in all. Amalo. Okay, this is Canaanite. It's a Canaanite word, and it means toil. And this is possessive, his toil. She ya amol, okay, same thing, of, again, this is a toil. Here it's used as a noun, and here it's used as a verb. Of, and then ya amal, he will toil. Okay, it's prefix form, he will toil. Okay. Tachat is below. Ha-shamesh, the sun. Okay, now, a lot of times when you hear this word tachat in the Bible, the next thing you want to hear is shemayim, which is the heavens, right? But here it's ha-shamesh, the sun. Kohelet, Solomon, in this book is talking purely of the material world. He is such a materialist, and we are materialists today, right? We're the consummate consumers. That's what he's talking about. Being a consummate consumer of the material world has nothing to do in this book with the spiritual and Shemayim. It's pure physical. Okay, Dor is generation. Holech. Okay, so generation, they're talking about he's talking about the generation. And holech means to walk or go. The generation goes. The door and generation. Ba, which means to come. Okay, the generation goes and the generation comes. The haaretz, and the earth. Le olam, to, and olam, al is above, and lam is like a completion, above and completes. It means actually like an eternity. It's the way it's frequently translated. And so it goes to eternity, or it's more of a completion of an era or an epic. Okay, it's not forever and ever and ever into perpetuity. It's an eternity in an epic. I'm just gonna put epic here. Omadet. Okay. Omadet, to amad, it means to stand. And omadet is like this. Kohelet, it's a noun. Is standing. Let's just put is standing. It's more of a verb, but it just sounds better. Translated plates better. Okay, so let's read this thoroughly materialistic, thoroughly pessimistic view, life view of Solomon, King Solomon. Okay, Divrei Kohelet, the words of Kohelet, the assembler, the guy who assembles. Ben David, the son of David, Melech Yerushalayim, the king in Jerusalem. That's David. Okay. Havel, emptiness. Havalim, emptinesses. Amar, he conveyed. Kohelet. Havel, emptiness. Havalim, hakol, everything is empty of emptiness. Havel. Okay, again, empty. Ma yitron, what is the remaining of, or what remains to la Adam, to Adam? Bechol amalo, in all his toil. She ya'amol, of his toil, his toiling. Tachat hashamash, below the sun. Dor holech, a generation goes. The dor va, and a generation, new generation comes. The haaretz, and the earth. Le'olam, eternally. Omadit, is standing. The earth just keeps going in its perpetuity as one generation comes and goes and comes and goes. All right. Any questions about that?
No, this is that verse that says vanity of vanity, all is vanity in King James.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it. That's how it's translated. Right.
Oh.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to go. Okay. Let me share. 1 second. Clear this. Okay. All right, so let's go to the Bible Project. Here we go. So wonderful, wonderful site. The Bible Project really explains so many things in a cogent way. So we're going to, this is the book of Ecclesiastes. We'll listen to that.
We're exploring 3 books in the Bible known as the wisdom literature: Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Job. And they're all asking the question, what does it mean to live well in this world?
So we've looked at Proverbs, who you could think of as a bright young teacher.
She's all about pursuing wisdom, an attribute of God that's woven into reality. And she's optimistic that if you use wisdom, you will build a successful life.
But then we come to Ecclesiastes, who's more like this sharp, middle-aged critic. And he says,
You think using wisdom will bring you success. You better think again, because life here under the sun is meaningless.
And that's a phrase he uses a lot in this book.
but to understand this book, we have to realize first that we're hearing 2 voices.
So first there's the teacher, and we've been calling him the critic. He's the main voice in the book.
But he is introduced to us by another figure, the author. And he's the one who's collected the critic's words and then at the end of the book summarizes everything and gets the final word.
So why does the author want us to hear from the critic?
Well, he wants to turn your view of the world upside down, and he's going to let the critic explore 3 really disturbing things about the world.
And we should warn you, these are pretty intense.
Yeah. So the first is the march of time, or as the critic says,
Generations come and generations go, but the earth, it's been here long before us and will be long after. No one remembers people from long ago, and all the people yet to come, they too will be forgotten by those who come after them.
and so on a cosmic scale, you and we are just a blip. Stars are born, and then they die and form planets which orbit new stars, and those planets, they change over time and eventually burn.
And amidst this cosmic backdrop, my entire existence is like a blink in time.
Which leads to the critic's second disturbing observation, that we are all going to die.
Humans face the same fate as the animals: death. All people, the righteous and the wicked, the good and the bad, those who offer sacrifices to God and those who do not, they all share the same destiny. All this activity and madness, then we all join the dead.
Man, this book is depressing.
And so is the final disturbing thing for the critic, and that is life's random nature.
So in Proverbs, life isn't random. There's a clear cause and effect relationship between doing the right thing and being rewarded.
But the fact is that life doesn't always work that way. The critic has observed a glitch in the system. He calls it chance, or in his words,
The race doesn't always go to the swift, or the battle to the strong, nor does food always come to the wise, or wealth to the brilliant, or favor to the educated. Time and chance happen to them often.
so his point is that you can't really control anything in life. It's just way too unpredictable.
So if I want to master life,
Then you're setting yourself up for a fall. Now, throughout the book, the critic uses a metaphor to tie together all of these disturbing ideas. Nearly 40 times he says that everything in life is hevel. It's a Hebrew word that means smoke or vapor. Like smoke, life is beautiful and mysterious.
it takes one shape, and before you know it, it takes a new shape.
And smoke looks solid, but try and grab it, it'll slip right through your fingers.
And when you're stuck in the thick of it, like fog, it's impossible to see clearly.
Now, our modern translations have lost the metaphor, and they usually translate hevel as meaningless. But if you read closely, the critic isn't saying that life has no meaning, but rather that its meaning is never clear. Like smoke, life is confusing, it's disorienting and uncontrollable.
So what are we supposed to do with all of this?
Well, surprisingly, the critic first of all acknowledges the perspective of Proverbs. He says it's a really good idea to learn wisdom and to live in the fear of the Lord.
Really? I mean, he just said that doesn't guarantee success.
But he knows it's the right thing to do. But secondly, and more often, he says that since you can't control your life, you should stop trying. Learn to hold things with an open hand, because you really only have control over one thing, and that's your attitude towards the present moment. Stop worrying, he says, and choose to enjoy a good conversation with a friend, or the sun on your face, or a good meal with people that you care about.
The simple things in life.
Yes, and both the good things and the bad, because both are rich gifts from God. And that's the surprising wisdom of Ecclesiastes.
Listening to the critic is painful and can lead you into some dark places.
And that's why the author speaks up at the end of the book. He doesn't want you to lose hope. He wants to make you humble into someone who trusts that life has meaning even when you can't make sense of it, that one day God will clear the hevel and bring his justice on all that we've done. And so he tells us that the proper response to all of this is to fear the Lord and keep his commandments.
And that's the book of Ecclesiastes. Now, there's one more voice in the Bible's wisdom literature, and that's the book of Job.
And he will bring us the final, much needed perspective on our journey into wisdom.
So. Okay, so let me go back here to Ecclesiastes. So of course, I agree with everything that they say, except the definition. That's, it's not smoke. It's actually, as I mentioned, entropy. Okay. So let's go ahead and just look at this. It's let me see how many chapters are in. There are 12 chapters. So we're going to just do oh my goodness.
This is the second of a three-part conversation on the book of Job.
Just turn that off. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. Very slow computer. Okay, let's go to Ecclesiastes here. Okay. All right. So there's 12 chapters in the book of Ecclesiastes. And I did want to go through this really quickly. What it actually what Wikipedia says. Now, Wikipedia is not the best reference for many things, but their Bible analyses are pretty much in congruence with modern scholarship. So I just wanted to go through this as well briefly. So Ecclesiastes, Kohelet, it's all Greek. The word Greek is Ecclesiastes, is one of the writings. Okay, so you got the Torah, which is the first 5 books in the Hebrew Bible, and then you've got the prophets, and then you got the writings, and the writings are in the form of scrolls. Okay, it's part of the wisdom literature of the Christian Old Testament. And it's a Latin transliteration of the Greek translation of the word Kohelet. Okay, now they say, okay, so this is what scholarship is saying. An unnamed author introduces the words of Kohelet, son of David, king of Jerusalem, and does not use his own voice again until the final verses, where he gives his own thoughts and summarizes the statements of Kohelet. The main body of the text is ascribed to Kohelet himself. So you have here, this is what the Bible Project was saying. Kohelet proclaims vanity of vanities, all is futile. The Hebrew word hevel, vapor, can figuratively mean insubstantial, vain, futile, or meaningless. Given this, the next verse presents the basic existential question with which the rest of the book is concerned. What profit has man for all his toil in which he toils under the sun? Okay. According to rabbinic tradition, the book was written by King Solomon during this time in his old age, but the presence of Persian loanwords and Aramaicisms point to a date no earlier than about 450 BCE, while the latest possible date for its composition is 180 BCE. Okay, do we have dialect do we have slang and loan words in our language today? Yeah, well, we do. And in Solomon's time, they did too. They were surrounded by all kinds of people. So I don't buy that just because they're Persian loan words and Aramaicisms, which is dialects, and slang, I don't buy that it doesn't confirm that this was King Solomon. All right, so that's just my little thingy there. All righty. So that's just from Wikipedia. So let's go back to the actual Ecclesiastes. Okay, so the words of Kohelet, the son of David, king in Jerusalem, vanity of vanities, said Kohelet, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit has man of all his labor wherein he labors under the sun? One generation passes away, or it's actually goes, and another generation comes, and the earth abides forever. The sun also arises, and the sun goes down, and hastens to his place where he arises. The wind goes toward the south and turns about to the north. It turns about continually in its circuit, and the wind returns again to its circuits. So these I mean, this was almost 1000 BC, right? It's 1000 BC. Whoever this is, I think it's Solomon, knows that there is, the sun rises, the sun goes down, the wind goes all around the earth and comes about again. So they know that the earth is round to some degree. They know, he knows that the earth is round. These people knew a lot of the material world. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. Unto the place where the rivers go, there they go again. So this is circle, this cycle. Now, how did anybody 1000 years BC know that the earth was round, and that, well, now we know that because of evaporation caused by the sun, the rivers go into the atmosphere, right? And then they come back down as rain. It's big, beautiful circuit. Okay, all things toil to weariness. Man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. That which has been is that which shall be, and that which has been done is that which shall be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. So we've heard this before, right? There's nothing new under the sun. Okay, so I would argue that yes, there's nothing material new under the sun, but each individual human being gains wisdom, and that is our new creation. The more wisdom we gain, the more we create and co-create with God. So is there a thing whereof it is said, see, this is new? It has been already in the ages which were before us. There is no remembrance of them of former times, neither shall there be any remembrance of them of latter times that are to come among those that shall come after. I, Kohelet, have been king over Israel and Jerusalem, and I applied my heart to seek and to search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. It is a sore task that God has given to the sons of men to be exercised therewith. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and a striving after wind. That which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered. I spoke with my own heart, saying, lo, I have gotten great wisdom, more also than all that were before me over Jerusalem. Yea, my heart has had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. And I applied my heart to know wisdom, and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this also was a striving after wind. For in much wisdom is much vexation, and he that increases knowledge increases sorrow. Okay, again, this just sounds just like Solomon. And let's just translate this. Ki berov, so for in greatness. Chachma, okay, that's wisdom. Chacham is wisdom. Rav, great, also. Ka'as, okay, ka'as means it's sort of like chaos. It sounds like chaos, right? Ka'as, and that's really what it is. Vexation, they're calling it vexation, but it's chaos, great chaos. In great wisdom, there's great chaos. Ve'yosif, okay, saf means to gather, and this is a he feel, in his being caused to, or it's active, in his causing to gather, da'at, da is knowledge, and da'at, knowledge or wisdom. Okay, Yosef. Okay, and gathering, machoav. Okay, machov. So koev in Hebrew is pain. Koev. When you ask somebody in Israel, if you're a doctor asking somebody in an Israeli hospital, koev la, okay, are you in pain? And where are you having pain? It's not just sorrow, it's actual pain. So let's just translate this better. For in much wisdom, or much, wisdom is much chaos, and that he who increases or gathers knowledge gathers pain. No pain, no gain, right? So that makes perfect sense. No pain, no gain. So I like that. When you the wiser you are, the sadder. So what's the expression? Well, no pain, no gain, obviously. But the more you know, the more you are sad. Okay. And that's very true. And Ron, anytime you want to chime in, just go ahead and chime in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Go ahead. Did you want to say something?
No, I'm just listening.
Okay. So this is now the material world. We're entering the pure material world of consumerism. And it's true. You have cycles of material consumerism, and we just came through this enormous cycle of consumerism. Now things are shrinking. They're going down into hevel, into entropy. Now we're going to have to stand back and go, oh, we took all this stuff for granted. Now what? Okay, and this is God's cycle of getting us to understand, if we don't constantly remind ourselves of how enormous the task of creation is, we're going to have to be shown entropy and go through it. Okay, so I said in my heart, come now, I will try you with mirth and enjoy pleasure. And behold, this also was vanity. I said of laughter, is it mad? And of mirth, what does it accomplish? I searched in my heart how to pamper my flesh with wine, and my heart conducting itself with wisdom, how yet to lay hold on folly, till I might see which it was best for the sons of men that they should do under the heaven the few days of their life. Okay, tachat. Now he's going hashamayim. Tachat hashamayim. Now he's bringing the spiritual element in. So again, back to Solomon. I made me great works. I built houses. I planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks, planted trees of all kind of fruit. I made pools of water to water therefrom the woods springing up with trees. I acquired men servants and maid servants, and had servants born in my house. I had great possessions of herds and flocks, above all that were before me in Jerusalem. He's saying essentially, and this is true, Solomon had more goods, more material wealth than any human being ever, including, well, not just material wealth. So he had what? He had 300 wives and 700 concubines. And how many, God knows how many sons and daughters he had. Solomon was like the ultimate materialist. Okay. I gathered me also silver and gold and treasures, such as kings in the provinces have as their own. I got men singers and women singers, and the delights of the sons of men, women, very many. So I was great and increased more than all that were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom stood me instead. Okay, now we're talking spiritual. He wasn't a materialist, spiritual wisdom. And whatsoever my eyes desired, I kept not from them. I withheld not my heart from any joy, for my heart had joy of all my labor, and this was my portion from all my labor. Then I looked on all the works that my hands had wrought, and on the labor that I had labored to do, and behold, all was vanity, and a striving after wind, and there was no profit under the sun. And I turned myself to behold wisdom, and madness, and folly. For what can the man do that comes after the king? Even that which has been already done. Then I saw that wisdom excels folly, as far as light excels darkness. Okay, this is another key positive in this book of Ecclesiastes. The wise man, his eyes are in his head, but the fool walks in darkness. And I also perceived that one event happens to them all. Then I said in my heart, as it happens to the fool, so it will happen even to me. And why was I then more wise? Then I said in my heart, this also is vanity. For the wise man, even as the fool, there is no remembrance forever, seeing that in the days to come, all will long ago have been forgotten. And how must the wise man die even as a fool? Well, here he's wrong because we have books. The reason we have books is so we don't forget. All right, so he's not yet that wise. So I hated life. Well, this is true. V'saneti, I hated et hachayim, the lives. This is plural. Because the work that is wrought under the sun was grievous unto me, for all is vanity and a striving after wind. And I hated all my labor wherein I labored under the sun, seeing that I must leave it unto the man that shall be after me. And who knows whether he will be a wise man or a fool? Yet he will have rule over all my labor, wherein I have labored, and wherein I have shown myself wise under the sun. This also is vanity. Therefore I turned about to cause my heart to despair concerning all the labor wherein I had labored under the sun. For there is a man whose labor is with wisdom, okay, the sage, and with knowledge, and with skill, yet to a man that has not labored therein shall he leave it for his portion. This is also vanity and a great evil. For what has a man of all his labor, and of the striving of his heart, wherein he labors under the sun? For all his, and he goes back to the sun here. It's interesting. It just keeps going back. Shemayim and then earth. For all his days are pains, and his occupation vexation. Okay, chaos. Yea, even in the night his heart takes not rest. This also is vanity. There is nothing better for a man than that he should eat and drink and make his soul enjoy pleasure for his labor. This also I saw, that it is from the hand of God. Okay, here's hedonism, right? Just eat, drink, and be merry, and then you die. For who will eat, or who will enjoy, if not I? For to the man that is good in his sight, he gives wisdom, and knowledge, and joy. But to the sinner he gives the task to gather and to heap up, that he may leave to him that is good in the sight of God. This also is vanity and a striving after wind. Okay, now I want to just get to the most famous sayings of the book of Ecclesiastes. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. What profit has he that works in that he labors? I have seen the task which God has given to the sons of men to be exercised therewith. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has set the world in their heart, yet so that man cannot find out the work that God has done from the beginning even to the end. Okay. I know that there is nothing better for them than to rejoice and to get pleasure so long as they live, but also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy pleasure for all his labor. It is the gift of God. I know that whatsoever God does, it shall be forever. Nothing can be added to it, nor anything taken from it. And that's what Moses says as well. Do not add and do not subtract from the Torah. And God has made it that men should fear before him. That which has been long ago and that which is to be has already been, and God seeks that which is pursued. Okay, we're pursuing the next stage. And moreover, I saw under the sun in the place of justice that wickedness was there, and in the place of righteousness that wickedness was there. I said in my heart, the righteous and the wicked God will judge, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work. I said in my heart, it is because of the sons of men that God may sift them, and that they may see that they themselves are but as beasts. For that which befalls the sons of men befalls beasts. Even one thing befalls them. As the one dies, so dies the other. Yea, they have all one breath, so that man has no preeminence above a beast, for all is vanity. All go unto one place. All are of the dust, and all return to dust. Who knows the spirit of man, whither it goes upward, and the spirit of the beast, whether it goes downward to the earth? Wherefore I perceive that there is nothing better than that a man should rejoice in his works, for that is his portion. For who shall bring him to see what shall be after him? Okay, now let's just go to the last chapter. And we'll finish up with this. Remember then your Creator in the days of your youth, before the evil days come, and the years draw nigh, when you shall say, I have no pleasure in them. Before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars are darkened, and the clouds return after the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out shall be darkened in the windows, and the doors shall be shut in the street, when the sound of the grinding is low, and one shall start up at the voice of a bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Also when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and terrors shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall blossom, and the grasshopper shall drag itself along, and the caperberry shall fail, because man goes to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets. Before the silver cord is snapped asunder, and the golden bowl is shattered, and the pitcher is broken at the fountain, and the wheel falls shattered into the pit, and the dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns unto God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, says Kohelet, all is vanity. And beside that, Kohelet was wise. He also taught the people knowledge. Yea, he pondered and sought out and set in order many proverbs. Kohelet sought to find out words of delight, and that which was written uprightly, even words of truth. The words of the wise are as goads, and as nails well fastened are those that are composed in collections. They are given from one shepherd. And furthermore, my son, be admonished, of making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. The end of the matter, all having been heard, fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole man. For God shall bring every work into the judgment concerning every hidden thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. And that ends Kohelet. So anyway, a great, great book. Any thoughts?
No, that was pretty good. I hadn't read in a while, and now that you
Yeah.
explained a few things, I got a little bit more out of it. I'm gonna have to reread it again.
Yeah, yeah. And it is from Solomon, whom God gave wisdom. So
Yeah, I thought those scriptures that described Solomon pretty clear. When he's talking about he was the king, he was the wisest man and all that, it made it clear that it was Solomon to me.
yeah, I agree. All right, Ron, thank you so much for being with me. And have a great week, and I'll hope to
All right.
see you next week.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
All right. Bye-bye.
bye-bye.